The CX-3 and CX-5 are great SUVs in their own right, but we're pretty sure Mazda never intended for them to cross the Simpson Desert. Over the next 4 days, we'll attempt exactly that, pushing Mazda's i-ACTIV all-wheel drive system and these little SUVs to their very limit. Tackling a desert half the size of Germany is an exercise that no one should take lightly. The Australian outback is one of the most hostile environments on Earth and a place that's usually the reserve of real four-wheel drives with suitable ground clearance, suspension geometry and low-range gearing. Prevailing winds mean the Simpson's 1200 sand dunes are easier tackled west to east. With that in mind, we'll depart from Dalhousie Springs, following the rig road to Popple Corner before climbing Australia's biggest sand dune, Big Red, and ending up in Birdsville. Of course, we haven't just headed into the desert and hoped for the best. We fitted a more aggressive tyre, a set of spotlights, UHF and satellite comms gear, and the mandatory sand flag. We've also got our parks permit sorted, checked the tracks are open and packed spare fuel, food, water and spare tyres, not to mention the recovery gear we'll need to help free us from the inevitable dry bog. After travelling almost 2,500 kilometres from Motoring.com.au headquarters in Melbourne, we began our trip at Dalhousie Springs on the desert's western end. The trek to the first dune was slow going, with recent rains and heavy traffic chopping up the track, but with careful wheel placement the little Mazdas took it all in their stride. Day 1 saw us head south for the rig road, making camp near the abandoned Macquarie oil well. Camping beneath the stars is the best way to experience the outback, enjoying the open fire and the tranquility that comes with the desert's cool night air. From Macquarie we trekked east to Walkandi Junction, and as the sand dunes increased in size, the Mazda's all-wheel drive system worked harder and harder to get the job done. Unfortunately, deep ruts and soft sand made tough going for the smaller CX-3, the car's undercarriage beaching on the centre of the track, limiting drive to the wheels. Fortunately, a quick tug from our recovery vehicle saw us on our way, and as soon as we turned to head north again, we passed the Simpsons' famed Lone Gum before again stopping the night in the dunes. Progress is slow in the desert, and most travellers say you should allow 3 to 4 days to cross the Simpson. The direction we've taken covers just more than 500 kilometres. Sure, if you had told the Leyland brothers or Malcolm Douglas that we were heading out into the bush in a couple of cars that Mum usually takes down to do the grocery shopping, they'd think you're completely mad and obviously think you probably wouldn't make it to the other side. But you know, we're cruising along now. It's day 3. I've only have to be pulled off 1 dune so far, and it wasn't really that the all-wheel drive system wasn't up to task, it was just that the centre of the track was so high that the car had managed to beach itself and the wheels couldn't get any traction. But apart from that, and you know, a little bit of suspension articulation issues as you'd expect, the cars have done really well. The dunes grew larger again as we approached the desert's eastern end, each one separated by a large, flat expanse or not so dry lake. Recent rains had caused the usually dry salt lakes to become muddy with water, forcing a slight detour north to rejoin the French and QAA lines east to Birdsville. The Simpson Desert ends quite abruptly at its eastern end at Australia's largest sand dune, Big Red. Well, you can't cross the Simpson without tackling Big Red. This sand dune is over 40 metres high, and it's the last instalment in the many that we've crossed to date. And given the challenge that has preceded us, I think this one is going to be rather interesting. So come on, let's do it. Standing 40 metres high, the dune is a challenge for even the most serious four-wheel drive. But after 2 attempts was conquered by the smaller CX-3, the lightweight SUV ascending the dune's steeper eastern face and leaving the CX-5 to take the long way around. Tackling the Simpson in vehicles like the CX-3 and CX-5 isn't recommended, but it does show how capable modern, on-demand all-wheel drive systems really are. Mazda's i-ACTIV all-wheel drive system proved its worth out here, conquering terrain that challenges the best four-wheel drives and doing it with relative ease. Soft-roaders these might be, but Mazda's CX-3 and CX-5 are anything but soft.
Well, we've done it, 500 kilometres of some of the toughest terrain in Australia in arguably not the most appropriate vehicle, but you know what? They've made it where some bigger four-wheel drives fear to tread and done it with relative ease. So we'll sign off here from Big Red, head into Birdsville and see you at the pub.